What's nice about the Tiger software suite is it's an add-in to Microsoft Word and Excel, so it makes it great for beginners or newbies that are kind of new to the Braille transcription game. It reduces the learning curve greatly because most people are familiar with those programs.
Welcome to Irie-AT Braille and Innovation.
So I'm going to go ahead and open up Word on my PC. There we go. Open up a blank document. All right, now I'm just going to verify that my printer is selected and my printer options. There we go, and we'll go ahead and set our paper size to 11.5 by 11 inch. All right, so you'll notice here I'm in Word, and we have the drop downs up above where you have File, Home, Insert, Draw, Design, all that. And on the far right, if you've installed the Tiger software suite, you'll notice that there's an add-in called Tiger. Now when I select that option, you'll notice that I get a few submenus down below, 5 to be exact. And starting from the right, you have the Help group or submenu, and within here you have what we have is the About option, which is great because that's going to show which version of the Tiger software you have, as well as your license number and the LibLouis version and a few other things listed in here. Now also under the Help tab we have a user manual built into it, which is kind of cool. Right, so if you have any questions about how to do certain things, you can access that rather quickly. We also have an option for Quick Paw. Now what's cool about Quick Paw is that's our version of 6-key entry. So if you activate this or enable it, of course if you're using a Braille display or something like that, you can then just use your Perkins style keyboard. But if you're using a QWERTY keyboard, like I am here, or a computer keyboard, basically what you would do is keys SDF-JKL to mimic that 6-key entry. To the right of the Quick Paw tab, we have the Deactivate option. So one nice thing about the Tiger software suite is that you're able to activate it and deactivate it on your own, on your own PC. So if you have it activated on a specific PC, get a new PC or something happens to that PC that you currently have, you can go ahead and deactivate the software, reinstall it on a new PC, and activate it on your own. Now below the Deactivate button is the Check for Updates option, and this is great too because if there's any minor updates that are released, you can go ahead and just hit that button there and it will let you know if they are available. To the left of the Help group we have the Print group, so there's an option to hide the Braille, and there's also an option to quick emboss. So what that'll do is not only translate the text that you have within your document, but it will automatically prompt you to print, which kind of skips the step of if you're using the Translate document tool, where it will first translate it, and then you would have to go to File and Print, or Control P for print, and do it that way. So the next option within the submenu is the Display group, and there's an option to show the TSS or Tiger software suite display language, and it should just default to your PC settings, which of course I have English US selected here. And then below that we have an option to show ASCII, or you can show the Braille dots on screen once translated. Now to the left of the Display group we have the Translate group, and the two most important options within here that I really kind of tend to hammer on or focus on are the Translate Selection and Translate Document. Now Translate Selection is just like Print Selection, right? So whatever you have highlighted in your document, it will translate it for you into Braille. Translate Document does just that. It will translate the entire document. Now under the Profile group, or Profile Settings group, we have the ability to adjust or set up specific profiles prior to translating. So this is great for if you have multiple students or you have multiple situations. Maybe you have a student that, or an individual who only knows grade 1, Maybe you have a student that knows grade 2, you can set up different profiles for them. And then also one of the great things about the Tiger software suite, and we'll get into that here in a bit, is you have the ability to translate multiple languages, up to 3 different languages actually simultaneously. So if you have an individual who's taking a foreign language, oftentimes they receive a dialogue, right, where it may have English and then whatever language they're taking on there as well. You can actually have the software set up and programmed to translate both languages. Now, one thing to note about that too, though, is that you have to make sure that the print on the screen is in the language in which you wish to translate into Braille. It won't translate, for example, it's not going to translate English into Spanish Braille, right? You'd have to have Spanish actually in print within the document. Now under the profile settings group, we have the profile dropdown. So if you're first firing the software up and don't have any profiles created, you're gonna have your default profile, right? And then as you can see here, I've got quite a few different ones. I've done a few trainings on this stuff over the years. So I've got a few different options in here, but we'll just go ahead and leave it on default for now. To the right of the profile dropdown, we have the ability to open that profile. Below the open icon, we have the ability to delete a profile. Below that, we have export profile. To the left of export, we have import profile. And then of course, we have the option to create a new profile. So I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new one. I'm gonna select that option. Then it's gonna ask you to enter a Tiger profile name. And we'll just say Cody's profile for now. That works for me. I'm gonna hit OK. Now I'm going to get the profile settings dialog box. Now within here, we have 4 different tabs up top. We have Braille settings, we have ink settings, we have page layout, as well as document settings. Now within the Braille settings tab, the first option is to choose a language setting. And I previously mentioned that we can translate up to 3 different languages within here. And this is how you're going to set your settings for each language you have selected. So of course we're going to start with our default language. And down below we have the default language settings. In the first option there's a drop down and it says default language. And we have English Unified selected. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and of course you can tell that we've got all sorts of other languages in here. But we're going to go ahead and we'll just stick with English for today. Now below the English or language drop-down, we have the Braille type. Now by default, if you're starting a new profile, it's going to have grade 1 and say uncontracted in parentheses. Now if I open that drop-down up, below grade 1 I also have grade 2 with standard contracted in parentheses. And below that I have 6-dot computer Braille, and then below that I also have 8-dot computer Braille. We'll go ahead and just leave it on grade 1 for now. Now below the Braille type, we have the translatable font. And right now I have any selected. So what that means is that any font that I use in my document will be translated into English Unified Grade 1. Below that, we have our math Braille type. So we have, it looks like by default, we have Nemeth selected. And I'm sure either your individuals or users or students or whomever are going to be using either Nemeth or UEB. And we have both listed in there for you. So we'll just go ahead and I believe a lot more people are coming on to the UEB these days. So we'll go ahead and just select that for now. Now there's a few other settings under the default language group, if you will. We have checkboxes for no capitals. We can produce jumbo Braille, preserve italics, preserve bolds, preserve underline, or preserve hyphens as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave those blank for now because most of those things aren't going to be used or maybe wouldn't be necessary when translating a document. Now again, I mentioned multiple languages. So right now we have grade 1 selected. Now if I wanted to switch this to grade 2, I'm going to go ahead and open up the Braille type. I'm going to select grade 2. Now this is one really neat thing about the Tiger software suite. When you have English Unified Grade 2 selected, you get this ability to customize UEB contractions. So as many of you know, some younger kiddos, you don't just learn grade 2 the whole thing or all of it, right? So you're going to be learning your contractions step by step. So what this allows you to do is edit or customize which contractions are translated or which ones aren't. So that's a really neat feature that I don't believe any other Braille translation programs currently have. I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel. Now again, I mentioned multiple languages or multiple Braille codes, if you will. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the Braille type back to grade 1. Again, we have English Unified grade 1, and any font will translate into English Unified grade 1. Now, if I want to have multiple languages translated within the same document, what we're gonna wanna do here is we're gonna wanna pick a specific font for that language or that Braille code that we want translated. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's just use a popular font. We're gonna go ahead and go with Arial. So now any font that's an Arial font within our document is gonna be translated into English Unified grade 1. Now what I'm gonna do is go back up to our language setting, and I'm gonna select secondary language. Now you'll notice that down below we have secondary language, and it defaults to English Unified grade 2, which is also neat, is that not only can you just translate multiple languages, if you have someone who, if you want grade 1 and grade 2 in the same document, you can associate a specific font with either. So right now we have grade 1 selected or associated with Arial font. Now if I wanted grade 2 within the same document, you can go ahead and just select another font and assign it to grade 2. And let's see, we could go with Calibri, for example. It's another popular one. Now again, anything that's in Arial font will be translated into English Unified grade 1. Anything that's in Calibri font will be translated into English grade 2. Now of course I also mentioned other languages, so under secondary language, instead of with English Unified, I mentioned Spanish or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and find that in our list. There we go. Now, anything that is in Calibri font will be translated into Spanish Braille. Now, the next tab up top is the Ink Settings tab. I'm gonna go ahead and select that option, and you'll notice we get a few different settings within here. What this allows you to do is adjust your, well, just that, your ink settings. So if you have an embosser that is capable of interline printing or producing both ink and Braille, which we do have those available, of course, this is where you would adjust those settings. As you can see, it says interline original text is selected, and then below that we have our ink font name, which Arial is selected. You have your ink font size, which is size 8, and then you have your ink text position, which is above, on top, or below. And what that'll do is it's asking where you'd like to place your ink in conjunction with your Braille on your document. So right now we have above selected. Of course, you can place it on top of the Braille or below the Braille. Now, if you don't have an embosser that does interline printing or produces ink in Braille, this will just be there within your document for visual reference, right? So that's another nice thing about the Tiger software suite is when you go to translate this and you show the Braille characters on screen, it will show the print on there as well. So you don't necessarily have to know what the Braille says because you have that visual print reference. Now the third tab is page layout, and this is pretty basic stuff within here. You've got your traditional printer settings. So I'm gonna go ahead and select my printer from the drop-down, which we have the Braille Track 120 selected. Now below that, it's page setup. You have paper size, which we're gonna go ahead and select the 11.5 by 11 inch with office in parentheses. And then it should auto-fill the values for you for width and length. To the right of that, you have your orientation, portrait, landscape, or inverse landscape. Pretty self-explanatory. Now down below, we have our margins. So one thing that's a bit different with the Tiger software as compared to Duxbury or something like that is within Duxbury, when you adjust your margins, it is done either by characters per line or lines per page, right? So for example, if you wanted to indent from the left side within your document, within Duxbury, it's called the binding margin, and they do it by characters per line. Well, within the Tiger software suite, it does it by units of measurement, and it's done in inches. So by default, it is set to 0.5 inches or ½ inch all the way around. And the other thing is in Duxbury, it's called their binding margin. Within TSS or Tiger software suite, it's called your inner margin. So what this is telling us is that it's going to indent 0.5 inches from the left side of the page. To the right of that, we have the outer margin, which is also set to 0.5 inches. That's how far it's going to indent from the right side. And down below that, we have the bottom margin, which is again set to 0.5 inches. That's how far it's going to indent from the bottom of the page. To the left of that, we have the top margin, which is how far down it's going to indent from the top, which again, it's 0.5 inches. Now to the right of those values, we also have the checkbox for format for interpoint. So if you have this selected, if you're wanting to do interpoint or double-sided Braille, right? There's interpoint and interline. They are significantly different, but they sound very similar. If you have this checkbox checked, what it's going to do is mirror your margins on the backside for you, so you don't have to make any additional adjustments. Now the next tab is the document settings. And within here, you have the ability to make some adjustments or set some settings for your headers, your footer, and we have a few other options down below. Now, I generally have mine set to remove headers and footers, because the reason being is oftentimes you'll receive a document within letterhead, right? And it's gonna have text up there, right? Or it's gonna have a logo or something like that, which the software will attempt to emboss the pictures or logos from within Word, which is also an awesome feature. You can emboss graphics from within here, and we'll get into that in a bit. But oftentimes what's in there is like an address or maybe some contact information that's really, really small. And what it's going to do is, being that it's text, it's going to attempt to translate that. So as many of us know, or if you don't know, a Braille character is about 3 to 4 times larger than a traditional print character. So I guess what I'm getting at is, general rule of thumb is a page of average size print is going to be probably 3 to 4 pages in Braille. So if you have that text really, really small up in the corner and you have your document all ready to translate, when you go to translate this, it's gonna first enlarge that text that's up in the header or in the footer, and then it's gonna translate it. So it's gonna goof up your formatting right from the get-go. So oftentimes that information isn't really important, and so I have it set to remove those things prior to translating, and it's also gonna save you some paper. Now, below the header and footer options, we have the ability to show original page numbers. You could print odd page numbers only. You can Braille the documents saved as new, which you see I have checked here, which is nice because basically you'll have your print document, and then when you go to translate it, it will give you the option to save it. So you'll have both a translated version and you'll still have your print version available. Now, to the right, we have show Braille page numbers in line, show print page numbers in line, top line, and then show print page separator too. Now, below those options, we have the Braille line spacing, and this is similar to paragraph spacing, right? So what we have set here is single. When I open the drop down, we also have 1.5 or double. Now, oftentimes I see this used because sometimes teachers or peers or parents or whomever is helping the individual will increase that spacing so that they can handwrite. If they don't have an interline printer, they can just write in print what the Braille says, so that an individual who can't read the Braille characters, who may be sighted, will be able to read the print and follow along or help out. Now, of course, another thing to note with that too is that as you increase the Braille line spacing, it's going to move your lines of Braille apart. So you're gonna lose out on lines per page and end up probably using a bit more paper. So just keep that in mind. Now, once everything looks good in here, of course, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna hit apply, and then okay. And now I think we're ready to go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and type this out. We're gonna do, this is a test document. All right, there we have our print. And let's do something in Spanish too. We'll do, hola, me llamo Cody. All right, now remember, we had English set to Arial font, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch that real quick, make sure that we have that selected. And then for Spanish, we had Calibri selected, so I'll go ahead and switch that. There we go. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna translate this guy. So I've got Tiger tab selected. I'm gonna select the option to translate document. Now again, it's gonna give me the option to save it, which we'll go ahead and just save it as a test doc. And we'll go ahead and throw it in a different file for now. We'll just throw it in my documents folder. Let's go ahead and find that. There we go. There we go. And as you can see, we have the translation progress bar on screen. And boom, there you go. We have our grade 1 English at the top, and then we have our Spanish Braille right below that. And you'll notice that it also still says the print, right? And that's what I was mentioning when we were in the profile settings dialog box. So that's a great feature so that you can, again, follow along or help if you don't actually know how to read Braille. So another thing that you can do in here, which I mentioned previously, is that you can just emboss images. And what's cool about this program is that it will convert those lines into dots. And an even cooler thing about that is if you have a ViewPlus or Irie embosser, they have the ability to emboss at variable dot heights. And depending on the embosser, that's up to 8 different dot heights. And the way that it does that is basically with an image, the darker the color, the higher the dot. So I'm gonna go ahead and just bring in an image, and I'm gonna just delete this text real quick so we've got a nice clean page. So I'm gonna go to Insert, and I'm gonna go under Pictures, and let's go ahead and just search for some online pictures and see what we got in here. All right, let's do a fun one. Let's do Bart Simpson. This one is very popular. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and search for Bart. Here we go. We got a good one here of him with a skateboard. Let's do the one that he has a green skateboard. That's a little bit more fun, a little bit more vibrant. All right, so we'll go ahead and uncheck that one. We're gonna go ahead and insert this into our Word doc. Oh, there we go, nice and big for us. I'm gonna go ahead and back that up a little bit. We'll shrink this down. There we go. All right, now, if I wanted to emboss, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to File, I'm gonna go to Print, make sure you have your Irie or ViewPlus Embosser selected, hit Print, and run that thing. And it'll emboss it out for you. That's easy peasy. Now, one thing to note when you're doing images, or when you're trying to convert them into tactile graphics, is that the more lines you have, the more dots you will have, right? So oftentimes, not only is bigger the graphic, the better, but the simpler the image, the better, because less lines means less dots. Now, if we wanted to edit this, because as many of you know, you can insert or images into Word, stuff like that, but you can't really edit them too much within here. So if you want to edit this prior to embossing, we're going to have to use the Tiger Designer Tactile Graphics program, which comes included with your Tiger software suite. That's another great thing about the program, is not only do you have Braille translation, you also have your Tactile Graphics program right in one nice package. So if we wanted to edit this guy, what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to File. We're going to go to Print. Now, under the printer drop-down, we're gonna open that up, and the last option in here is to print to file, okay? I'm gonna select that, and then when I hit print, it's gonna give me the save dialog box. And you'll notice it saves it as a PRN, that's a print ready file, okay? So we'll go ahead and we're gonna name this Bart, that's easy peasy. And I'm gonna just put it on my desktop, hit okay. All right. Now it's saved that file for us. Now what we're gonna wanna do, if we wanna edit this thing, is we're gonna wanna open up the Tiger Designer program. But first, I kinda wanna cover that program, show you some of the tools and how it works, and then we'll go ahead and open up Bart within there and do just that. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out of Word. I'm gonna open up Tiger Designer, and as you can also see, Bart is saved on my desktop. We'll go ahead and just type out Designer on my search bar within my desktop. There we go, and it's labeled ViewPlus Tiger Designer. It is a red square with an uppercase D in the upper right-hand corner of the logo and a cute little tiger paw in the lower left-hand corner. I'm gonna go ahead and select that option. Now, you'll notice when I open up Tiger Designer, without opening a document, that there's not much you can do in here. You're going to get the Tiger Designer 9 splash screen. You're also going to have pretty much all your tools grayed out. The only real thing you can do in here is either open up a new document or open up an existing document, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and start with opening a new document, right? Now, we're gonna make sure our Braille paper is selected, or excuse me, our page size, which is Braille paper by default, and it says 11.5 by 11 in parentheses. Then below that, you have your page width, your page height, which should be auto-filled when you select 11.5 by 11. Down below, you have your printer model. Now when I open that up, you've got all of the ViewPlus embossers in here, as well as the Irie embossers. I'm gonna go ahead and select Braille Track and Braille Sheet. Then below that, you have your page type, which the only option within here is emboss only with this current embosser. Now, if you have an embosser that produces ink and Braille or interline print, the other options in here will be to print only and print and emboss. Right? You'll also, of course, have the emboss only option. So it gives you 3 different options. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. Now you'll notice when I hit OK, that in the upper left-hand corner, we have all of our tools available for us within the Tiger software suite. So starting from the far left, we have our different dot heights. So I mentioned that ViewPlus and Irie embossers can produce variable dot heights. So this is where they are listed. So starting from the far left, you have dot height 1, all the way up to dot height 7. And then you also have one that's blue and it says set Braille text. And what that'll do is that's for your Braille labels, because it's gonna set them at the highest dot height. They don't really give you an option to set them at a lower dot height, because why would you, right? You want your students or readers to be able to read the text, right, as easily as possible. Then to the right of that, we have a few different tools up top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the pen tool. I'm gonna select that option. And you'll notice that over on the left that it is now highlighted set dot height 7. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down to my canvas, I'm gonna left click and drag the mouse. And as you can tell, clearly I'm an artist. But what that's doing is it's drawing the highest dot height within our canvas. Now if I wanted a lower dot height, I'm gonna go ahead and select dot height 4, come back over the canvas, left click and drag. And you'll notice that my doodle is a lighter shade. And what that indicates is a lower dot, right? Again, the darker the color, the higher the dot. I'm gonna go ahead and Control Z for undo and clean this up. Now the next tool I wanna show you is the line tool. It's pretty basic stuff. I'm gonna select that option. I'm gonna left click on the canvas and drag, and boom. Easy peasy, I've got my line, right? And then if we wanted a higher dot height, I'm gonna go ahead and select dot height 7, left click and drag, and there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and Control Z, clean this up. Now the next option is a transparent rectangle. I'm gonna go ahead and left click and drag. There you go. The option to the right of that is a filled rectangle. I'm gonna go ahead and left click and drag. There we go. And what you'll notice within this rectangle, again, it's the filled rectangle, is that it puts a pattern. So this is the default pattern in Tiger Designer. And what this is nice for, if you're maybe learning geometry or you're learning similarities in shapes, stuff like that, then you can really distinguish the differences between the different shapes. The next option within here is the transparent oval. And again, you just left click and drag, and there you go. We have our oval or circle. The next option after that is going to be your filled oval, and you'll notice quickly that it has the same filled pattern that we had with our filled rectangle. Now the next option is going to be the flood fill tool, and if I select that tool and I move back to our transparent oval, I'm just going to left click in there, and you'll notice we get that same filled pattern or default pattern that we had displayed previously. Now what's also neat about this program is it has pre-built patterns within it. So the next tool to the right of the flood fill tool is going to be your pattern fill tool. I'm going to select that option, and you'll notice we have quite the lengthy list here of different patterns, and to the right of that we have a print preview. So one of them that I like to show within here is royalty. It kind of reminds me of a checker or chessboard. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now I'm going to come back to my transparent oval, and I'm going to left click, and boom, you'll notice that we get a much different pattern than the default pattern that is selected within the program. Now the last tool in the list up here is going to be the Braille label tool. I'm going to select that option, and you'll notice that I get a capital T next to my cursor. Now I'm just going to go ahead and left click on the canvas. I'm going to get the Add Braille Label dialog box. And what's cool about this is you have a Braille preview as well as a text preview. So as you can tell, I've done BART in the past, which we were just playing with, but since we have a circle in there, let's go ahead and we can type out circle. And there you go. As I type it out on my computer keyboard, it not only displays it in print, but it displays it in Braille for you as well. Now, below the Braille and text preview, we also have a few other options. You have the language, which we have English, US selected. Below that, you have your grade or type of Braille. We've got grade 1, grade 2, and computer Braille. Below that, you have your Braille font, which is set for Braille 36. And to the right, we have our orientation. So we have horizontal, as well as vertical, and inverse vertical. So oftentimes I see vertical, used not too often, but actually I'll see it more often used if you're creating a graph. Maybe there's an X and Y axes, right? And oftentimes in print, the Y axis is labeled vertically. So that's where you can switch up the orientation of your Braille labels. Now I'm going to hit OK, and boom, it's added our Braille label within here. Now the last thing I'm going to show you are the two last tools, which are going to be the Select Rectangle tool and the Select Area tool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and select the filled rectangle, and we'll go ahead and set that at dot height 7. I'm going to go ahead and draw that on our canvas. Now I'm going to select the transparent rectangle, and we'll go with dot height 4. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to left click and drag our transparent rectangle a little bit over that filled rectangle, so we will have it overlapping. Now with that select rectangle tool, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back over to my canvas, and I'm going to left click and drag around a portion of the filled rectangle, and I'll get a red box. And what I can do is I can left click and drag within that red box, and whatever's in that red box, it's going to remove it from our graphic. Now, the Select Area tool, which is a little magic wand, is a little bit different, and what this tool does is it allows you to pick a specific area. Rather than left clicking and dragging your rectangle around a specific area, now I can go ahead and just pick and choose a certain portion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on the portion of the filled rectangle that's within our transparent rectangle, and boom, there you go. You see that it has that portion selected. Very similar to the Select Rectangle tool, we have our red rectangle around the area. Now what I can do here is rather than remove it, it's going to copy that portion. And as you can see, I can move it around on my screen and place it wherever I want. If everything looks good from here, which obviously this graphic could use some work, right? But let's just imagine it's nice and pretty and what we want. You're going to go up to File and Print. Make sure that you have your Irie or ViewPlus Embosser selected. Hit Print, and you're off and running. Now that's how you're going to use TSS from scratch, if you will, if you're creating a new document. And I mentioned earlier about BART, that how we were able to emboss BART directly from Word, right? Which is an awesome tool. But again, if we want to edit that tool, or edit that graphic, we're going to want to bring it into Tiger Designer first. So what I'm going to do here is, remember we saved it as that PRN file. I'm going to go to File, Open, and we're going to search for him. He's on our desktop, and he was a PRN file. There we go. You see BART is right here. I'm going to select that option, hit Open, and within our current document, it's going to ask us if we want to save changes or not, and we'll just go ahead and select No. And boom, as you can see, it brought BART in to our Tiger Designer program, and it's in the dot format. And again, we mentioned the variable dot heights. Now, if you remember from the photo of Bart, his skin is a yellowish color and the outline is black. So you'll notice his outline is a darker color and his skin is a lighter color dot. So again, the darker the dot, the higher the dot. Now, if we wanted to add to this, of course we can. We can come up here and use our pencil tool. Oh, let's say we want to put Bart on a nice sunny day. So we're gonna throw some rays out there. Clearly, I'm an artist. And we can grab our circle tool and we can throw in a beautiful, very realistic sun. Well, there you go. That's how you would simply bring in an image and edit it. Now, the other thing that you can do, which is a really neat tool, is rather than bringing in images to Word or something like that, you can actually just bring in images right from the web, right into here and emboss them out. So why don't we go ahead and open up a new document. And there we go. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump over to Chrome and open up Word, or excuse me, I'm gonna open up the search bar. And we'll go ahead and we're just gonna search for, let's do US map. Now, of course, when you search for a US map in Google, they're gonna try to sell you some stuff, as always, right? We know that. So what you're gonna do is select images. Now within here, of course, they're still gonna try to sell you some, but you can scroll through or navigate towards the bottom and we have all these beautiful images of the US. And of course, they're very visually appealing. But remember, again, what I said earlier, the simpler the image, the better, right? Because those lines or pieces of that image are gonna convert to dots. So there's actually a really neat tool built into the search or Google search. When you select images, you'll notice over to the right, there's an option that says Tools. When I select that option, we get a subgroup down below. We've got size, color, usage rights, type, anytime, or advanced search. Now under the type dropdown, you'll notice that there's a line drawing option. What this will do is do a Google search or a filter your Google search. And so you'll have much more simplified images within there. You can also, of course, just come up to your search bar and you can just add in the term line drawing and it will do something similar for you. There we go. Now you've got a few different options to choose from in here. It looks like this first one is a pretty good representation. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that option. Come over to our map and you can either save it to your PC and import it within Tiger Designer, or for now, we're just gonna right click on it and open up our context menu. We're gonna select copy image. Now we're gonna jump back over to Tiger Designer. I'm gonna click on my canvas. Now I'm gonna do Control V for paste. And there you go. You've got a US map. Now, one thing I should note is that it's very rare when you import an image that it's gonna be kind of a perfect translation into dots. So there's definitely gonna be some editing involved. But you'll notice that we also get this bitmap properties dialog box. And what that allows you to do is kind of play with some of the settings. And so you'll notice within our graphic that it'll make some things pop. You can add some dots or remove them. There we go. And we also can adjust the brightness. There we go, make it nice and bold. So of course, you know, as I mentioned, you're gonna wanna do a bit of messing around with this and kind of find your sweet spot, if you will. But once everything looks good, for the most part, you can just hit apply. And then you can come back in here and use your tools, if you like, to add some things. Like for example, if you wanted to add the state abbreviations, right? We can come up here and we can use our Braille labeling tool. I'm gonna go over to good old Oregon where we're located. Left click, we get that Braille label dialog box and we'll just do OR. Hit OK and boom, there we go. We've got it in there. And again, once everything looks good, file, print. Make sure you've got your embosser selected, hit print, and you're off and running.
Make sure to subscribe to the Irie-AT YouTube channel for more great videos on the latest in Braille and low vision products.